Now, what I saw this week on Twitter, on social media from Keir Starmer today, it says Angela Rayner and I met members of the Palestinian community in the UK who have lost loved ones in Gaza. Alongside Dr. Husam Zomlot, head of the Palestinian mission to the UK, I'm humbled by their immeasurable grief. This horrific suffering must end. I saw that the ambassador, Dr. Husam Zomlot, was speaking at a big event in Camden on Friday. So I went along to it, and this is a report.
Husam Zomlot, thank you very much for agreeing to speak. We're just seeing these pictures of things happening in northern Gaza, and can you just tell us basically what's going on?
It's a war of extermination. Israel has been bombarding the north, besieging the north, starving people in the north, asking them to leave without knowing where to. And when they leave, they bombard wherever they go, be it a school, a UN shelter, a building, a street. It's hell on earth. And it's clear they want to depopulate the entire north. The only question is, there is absolutely nowhere for these people to go. And the world is watching in silence, and nobody is stopping this absolute carnage. It's a carnage that has been unseen in a long time. Corpuses are in the streets, they're attacking hospitals, rounding men, separating them from women. Go see the footages and you will know that this does not belong to our time and age.
I mean, we're watching this, and then I know that you went to Downing Street to meet the Prime Minister. I mean, what were you telling him about? Does he know all this stuff that's going on?
Well, I was accompanying a group of Palestinian bereaved families, and we appreciate the fact that the Prime Minister, together with the Deputy Prime Minister and a couple of other ministers, received our families and heard from them directly what they have gone through, what their families in Gaza and in Palestine have gone through. And not just Gaza, but also the same situation, maybe at a slower pace, in the West Bank and now in Lebanon. So there were representatives from Gaza, from the West Bank and Jerusalem, and from Lebanon, Palestinians in the refugee camps. And they really expressed to the Prime Minister their deep feeling of sorrow, of trauma, of pain, because many of them lost dozens. I mean, a young girl told them, I lost 150, and she listed them, another 148 in one strike. In one home, all of her parents, sisters, nephews, nieces, the entire lot. But also it was an opportunity that they, as British citizens, expressed to their Prime Minister their feelings and their impressions that they were not attended to. They were not cared for by their own government. Their demands were not heeded. They could not bring their loved ones to unite with them and provide for them here in the UK, or they could not bring Palestinian children who have been severely wounded to be treated in UK hospitals. And I think they have the means. They have the financial means to support their fellow Palestinians. The issue is the government is not allowing them to establish schemes. But it was a good meeting that resulted in agreeing on a follow-up with certain specialized ministers to make sure that the voices and the aspirations of the Palestinian community in the UK is heard and is met. And also it's an important symbolic gesture that the Palestinian community in the UK are a main component of the British society. And this is something that I'm very proud of, because the community here, our community, the Palestinian community, is exceptional. I mean, you find them in the hundreds in the NHS at the highest level, you find them in academia, you find them in the entrepreneurs and in the business, you find them in the city, you find them in technology. And therefore, the recognition and the realization that this community that is contributing to the well-being of this country needs to also be recognized and needs to be attended to is something that is appreciated and welcome.
So your approach is more of diplomatic, try and make as much as you can with the government as you can to make arrangements that work, rather than combative and sort of you're not doing enough. You're pushing him, but not, I don't know, antagonizing him. Is it a difficult thing to balance?
No, it's not. When they do the right thing, we say this is the right thing, and when they don't do enough, we say this is not enough. Like the issue of suspending arms licenses, we say this is a step in the right direction, but not enough. We need a full arms embargo. So you take the right step and you build on it. It's not like either or. you need to build it up, and it's not easy. And yes, it's a combination of trying to engage, but at the same time providing the right approach to change things. So we are inspired by change, because the starting point of this government vis-a-vis Palestine was not very reassuring to the community here, and they heard that in the meeting. So we want to see a balanced approach that takes in full consideration international legality, the UK commitments, and the labour values, because this is a labour government.
The British government said that it agreed with the central findings of the ICJ. Good. But that the resolution did not provide sufficient clarity on how to move forward. So they agreed with the finding of the highest court, but this was not sufficiently clear how to move forward. Perhaps I can help them through you. I will help them today. The ICJ was clear. That's the highest court of the globe. It was clear. Number one, Israel's occupation is unlawful and must end. Is that clear? I think it's clear. And it happens that the Prime Minister is a human rights lawyer, so he understands. And the Foreign Secretary. Israel's settlements, number two, Israel's settlements are all illegal and must be dismantled. All. Number three, it is the obligation of third parties, third states, not to support in any way or shape Israel's continued presence in the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. This last point is the most important to our purpose today. Third party role. It is the obligation, the legal obligation, the legal before anything else, before political, before moral. It is the legal obligation not to support in any way or shape Israel's continued presence in the occupied territory. These are exactly the central findings of the ICJ that the British government says it accepts. And by the way, the explanation in the UN voting is a binding document. So it binds them to what they say.
I remember in 1990-91 period when Berlin Wall had come down, the Cold War was clearly over, there was a period of arms reduction all round, the strategic arms limitation, etc. And it was a time of some considerable degree of hope that we would live in a world where there would be less resources spent on arms, we'd start a serious process of arms conversion. And then I remembered, I didn't sort of think too much about it immediately, and then the more they came, I thought more about it. I started getting invitations from the Royal United Services Institute to come and have breakfast with them. The breakfast was terrible. And then there were all these seminars being organised for members of Parliament, apparently chosen at random but not. And it was all about, basically, the arms industry lobbying with appropriate geopolitical analyses to say we can't go on with reducing arms expenditure, it's very, very dangerous, this weapon, that weapon, the other weapon is needed, and look at what happened with Saddam Hussein, look at what happened with Kuwait, look at what's happening in the future. They were lobbying to change the general European and worldwide direction of foreign policy. They did it relentlessly with enormous money, and they did it very, very effectively. And so never underestimate, and Andrew knows this better than me, the power they have of lobbying to change political structures and political opinion.
I'm writing a book at the moment called Making a Killing: How the West Profits from Slaughter in Yemen and Gaza. And earlier this week I was sitting with one of my researchers and she was saying to me, I don't know how to calculate the quantum of profits that have been made in these two conflicts in which so many human beings are suffering, because the numbers are insane. And I said to her, please, just continue, because we want to tell people just how extreme the money being made out of these conflicts is. One of the reasons this trade is so corrupt is because everything that is labeled national security or mislabeled defense takes place in secret. Even when legal reviews are brought against our government for the provision of arms into these conflicts, in these legal reviews, the lawyers of those bringing the cases are not allowed to hear substantial part of the government's arguments. They are heard by the judge alone in camera. So the government can say to those judges who have no experience in these matters whatever they want. So we don't even know what our government has stopped exporting to Israel, but we can probably quite reliably assume that it's very little, if anything, of importance in the conduct of this genocide. What we do know, as previous speakers have intimated, is that the parts and components for the F-35 continue to be exported. This is a little bit like claiming we are disarming a killer by taking away the Smith & Wesson sticker on his pistol, but leaving him with the pistol and with the ammunition. We've now disarmed the killer, there is no danger. We are not complicit in the murders that he commits. This is the absurdity of our government's position. But let me tell you something. If the United States of America, which contributes 70% of all weapons imported by Israel, accompanied by this country, Britain and Germany, were to halt all arms sales to Israel today, in a matter of days, the slaughter would grind to a halt.
We really do need to understand what really happened on October 7th. What has happened, and I'm not talking about in terms of the gunmen and who was killed, etc. I'm talking about the way that our world was upended by October 7th. The fact we're having this meeting, the fact we have all these meetings, all this ferment of discussion, analysis, questioning, is because October 7th revealed realities which people had been living with and not wanting to confront. That's what really happened on October 7th. It is a process that is still ongoing, and I think we haven't digested it fully yet because it's not over. It's still unfolding, it's still unraveling. And the final thought is this. I don't believe that we need to have a state like the State of Israel in existence. I really believe that the time has come for the State of Israel to be dismantled. The State of Israel cannot be accommodated, nor can it be reformed. It has to end. And this is how we have to think of the future. There is no room in the Middle East or in the world for a state that is genocidal, that practices apartheid, that commits evil every minute of every day at the moment, as we're seeing. There is no place for